let's kick off this deep dive. Today, we're tackling something pretty universal, I think, that fear, when a big life change needs a skill you just don't really have.
Right. Like moving somewhere new, needing a whole new language, it's terrifying.
Exactly. And our source material today, it's all about that. It's this really compelling story of a listener, Lucas.
Yeah, his journey learning English was intense, sometimes brutal actually, but ultimately, wow, life-changing.
So that's our mission here. We're going to dig into his story, look at the fear, the choices he made, what he actually did day to day.
And pull out the lessons, right?
Yeah.
How do you push past that kind of, that gut-wrenching fear and actually get somewhere?
Yeah.
Especially starting from behind.
Yeah. If you've ever felt, not good enough, scared to speak up or face something huge and thought, no way.
Then Lucas's story has some really powerful stuff for you. It's about more than just language, really. It's about courage, building the life you actually want.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Lucas Rivera, mid-20s, from a small town near Seville, Spain.
And you might picture Seville, flamenco, passion, all that.
Right, the stereotype.
But he describes his upbringing as pretty quiet, grounded, working-class parents, Spanish only.
So Spanish was his whole world. Home, school, everything.
Totally. And English. He says it was just his worst subject, a total wall.
Like he struggled with grammar, just memorized stuff for tests.
Exactly. No real understanding. And he shares this really specific, painful memory from 9th grade.
Oh, yeah.
Being asked to read English out loud, he just froze. Everyone laughed, heard the teacher say something about practice, but all he heard was, "You're not good enough."
Oof. That sticks with you.
Yeah, he just shut down an English class after that.
But underneath all that fear, he had this secret dream, didn't he?
New York City, yeah. He pictured it like the total opposite of his life. Vibrant, confident people, perfect English, big dreams.
And the language barrier felt like the main thing holding him back.
Completely out of reach because of English. It was this quiet thing he held onto.
Until the catalyst. He sees a job posting.
Right. He'd finished studying graphic design. He was good, but wanted more. Sees this ad for a creative agency in Manhattan.
And the requirements.
Fluent English. Confidence in meetings. International applicants welcome.
Okay, so here's the moment.
Yeah.
Dream job, English is not there. What does he do?
He takes this huge gamble, sits there shaking, he says, opens his resume, and under languages, types English fluent.
Wow.
Just puts it there, knows it's a lie, hits send anyway. Just desperate hope.
That mix of desperation and maybe just a tiny spark, it takes nerve.
Definitely. And then a week later, bam, email, loved your portfolio, interview.
Oh, man. Stomach drop moment.
Pure panic. He's searching online how to learn English fluently in one day, which is,
Hilarious and terrifying.
totally. Knows it's ridiculous, spends hours cramming phrases for the Zoom call, like back in school, just memorizing.
So the interview happens. His English is broken. He knows it, makes mistakes.
If he somehow gets through it, and then he gets the job offer.
No way.
Yes. Offer letter arrives. First, disbelief. Then, this wave of terror.
Because the lie.
The lie just became his immediate future. He's got 2 weeks. Moved to New York, a city he's never seen. Where he's never really spoken English. He actually has to do it now.
That leap. Seville to JFK, 2 bags, 1 massive secret. The arrival sounds intense in the source.
Oh, it's a total sensory explosion. The smells, the noise, the speed of everything. People walking, talking, eating. So fast.
And the language just washing over him. Way too fast to catch.
Impossible. And he feels tiny. Small town guy, totally out of his depth, finds this little cheap Airbnb in Queens.
Small, basic room, but he says it felt like wealth.
Yeah, because it meant freedom, independence.
But that freedom gets tested right away by fear.
Oh, yeah. That first night, he walks around just watching, listening, starving, but too scared to go into a shop and order food.
The potential for getting it wrong, the embarrassment.
It's paralyzing, and then that fear becomes real in that grocery store moment.
The sandwich incident.
Right. Picks up a sandwich, pays. The guy at the counter says something fast. Lucas just freezes.
Doesn't understand.
Blank stare. The guy rolls his eyes, repeats it slowly. Bag. You want bag. Lucas finally gets it, nods. The guy practically throws it at him.
Oh, the shame. He just walks out.
Burning with embarrassment, eats the sandwich alone later, just thinking, what have I done? What am I doing here?
And that leads to the first panic attack.
Yeah, but quiet, just sitting there, tears rolling down, whispering, you lied. They'll find out tomorrow you're fired.
Just the weight of it all crashing down. Okay, so next day, First day at work, Manhattan.
Gets up super early, the subway, chaos, confusing, gets lost. Finally makes it to this gleaming, intimidating office building.
Another hurdle at reception.
More awkwardness. Doesn't really understand, just says his name, why he's there. Too scared even to say thank you properly.
Then meets the team lead, Sarah. She sounds nice, but
Warm, friendly, but speaks really fast English. Gives him the tour. He's just nodding, pretending. But inside, he's completely lost. Drowning.
sits down at his desk, sees a welcome card, and tears again.
Yeah, this mix of fear and maybe disbelief he's actually there. Then the team meeting. Oh, boy.
Fast-talking native speakers. Jargon.
6 of them. Circle back, pivot. What's the vibe? He's just frozen, silent.
Until Sarah asks his opinion, the moment he has to speak.
Total silence in his head. He forces something out.
Yeah.
I think design is nice, but maybe a little more bright?
Broken grammar.
Yeah.
Hesitant.
Totally. A teammate jumps in gently. Add more color, right? And the meeting just moves on.
Nobody makes a big deal, but he knows.
Oh, he knows they notice.
Yeah.
He sounds like a beginner. Feels the heat rise in his cheeks. That exposure.
So after the meeting, he escapes to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a key moment, right?
This is the turning point.
Yeah.
Looks in the mirror, and he talks to himself. Gives himself a choice.
What does he say?
Something like, okay, 2 choices. Be scared forever or become fluent, become fearless. And right there, he decides.
Not just wish for it, but make it happen.
Exactly. He decides he's going to become the guy who taught himself English, word by word, sentence by sentence, from zero.
That's powerful, that shift from victim to agent. So how does Mission English Fluency, as he calls it, actually start?
It starts small, but super deliberate. And consistent. That night, back in the tiny room, writes it down. Mission English Fluency makes a strict plan.
The core of it being
Wake up at 5 a.m. every single day. No excuses.
5 a.m. That's brutal, especially when you're already overwhelmed.
Totally. Cold room, wanting to sleep. But he forces himself up. Deep breath. Says out loud, "Good morning, Lucas. Today we begin." Makes coffee.
And that first hour, 5 to 6, the power hour.
That's dedicated practice time. At first, just simple repetition. YouTube videos of native speakers, mimicking them.
Seeing the sentences out loud.
Yeah. Hey, long time no see. Been great, just busy. His mouth felt stiff, he said, unused to the sounds, like teaching a baby to talk.
But doing it, actually making the sounds, felt powerful somehow.
Incredibly powerful, even if it was clumsy. He was producing the language.
And then he added mirror practice.
After about a week, yeah. Standing there, talking to his reflection, ordering imaginary food, introducing himself.
Must have felt ridiculous at first.
He says he felt stupid, laughed at himself, but kept doing it. Realized, like, embarrassment is the price of growth, and he was willing to pay.
Evenings were structured too.
Yep. English TV, subtitles on, writing 5 new sentences every night, and the big one, recording himself speaking, listening back.
Ooh, that's tough, hearing your own voice, accent, mistakes.
Super weird, he said. Grammar weak. But he forced himself every single day. Relentless, varied, active practice.
So when does he get the first little sign that maybe, just maybe, this is working?
It's a small thing. His Airbnb host hears him practicing one night, asks if he's okay. Lucas explains.
And the host says,
Just, good, your English is nice.
your English is nice. Wow. That must have felt like winning the lottery.
He said it wasn't perfect English, the compliment itself, but it was the first one. He smiled all night. A tiny bit of proof for all that effort.
But it wasn't all smooth sailing, right? There were setbacks.
Oh, absolutely. Not linear at all. He mentions work mistakes, like an email, writing, "Please find attach the file."
And a teammate corrected him gently, but it still stung.
Yeah, felt like a blow to his pride, and then the presentation mistake.
Right, the more fastly incident.
Wanted to say faster, said more fastly. Silence. The manager's raised eyebrow. Teammate whispers the correction. Confidence just gone. Face flushed.
How does he cope with that public stumble?
Goes to the restroom again, looks in the mirror, asks himself, why can't I get this right? Tries not to cry on the train home.
But he doesn't just wallow.
He gets home, cries a bit, but then opens his grammar book, writes it down, bold letters.
Yeah.
Today I learned faster, not more fastly.
He's turning the mistake into a lesson.
Exactly. That reframing is crucial. Every mistake as a teacher, I wasn't failing, I was learning. That shift let him keep going. The pain became fuel.
So he's practicing hard alone, learning from errors. When does he brave public interaction again?
After about 2 solid weeks of this intense routine, sets a tiny goal. Talk to one stranger every weekend. coffee shop.
Just one. That still sounds terrifying.
It was. First time, sees an old man alone. Walks over, hands shaking. Hi, my name's Lucas, learning English. Can I sit?
Oh, the courage and that vulnerability. How did the man react?
Surprised, then smiled. They talked for 20 minutes. The man was encouraging. Keep trying, you'll get there.
And Lucas felt.
Like a hero. Not for good English, but for having the courage to speak at all. That's the real win there.
That shift from fear paralyzing him to taking action despite the fear. So after a month of this, where's he at?
Notebooks filling up, dozens of hours logged, made a few friends, understanding maybe 60% at work now. Confidence is definitely growing, fear is shrinking.
The consistency's working, it's chipping away at the anxiety.
Definitely. And then comes a bigger test, at work again.
Sarah asks him to lead part of a client presentation.
Yep. Second month, lead the design part. He panics inside, obviously. But Sarah trusts him. He feels he has to try.
How does he prepare this time?
Intensively. Rehearses his lines like 50 times, over and over.
And the presentation itself.
Stands up there, hands shaking, voice a bit low, but he keeps going. Makes mistakes, forgets things, but doesn't stop, finishes, and they clap.
Wow, that must have felt incredible. A real breakthrough.
He said walking out, he felt like a warrior, not the liar he felt like initially. Called his mom that night, told her everything. Tears of pride. Felt like he'd finally earned his spot.
But the journey wasn't quite done. There was still that big setback on day 41, right?
Yeah, just when he's feeling good. His manager, David, asks him to handle a client Zoom call. Real client. Live. High stakes.
And the fear comes rushing back.
Big time. He says yes, but his voice cracks. On the call, the client speaks so fast he only understands maybe 20%. Tries to nod, smile, fake it, but he knows he's lost.
And David's reaction afterwards?
Just silence. Which Lucas says felt worse than yelling. He knew he'd failed. Absolutely crushed.
That must have been devastating. How did he recover from that?
Couldn't sleep that night, flying there. Listens to a beginner English podcast, randomly. And here's this line. It clicks.
What was the line?
Fluency is not magic, it's memory, muscle, and mindset.
Memory, muscle, and mindset.
Yeah. He writes it down immediately and realizes he's been working on memory, words, grammar, and muscle speaking practice.
But not enough on the mindset,
Well,
the fear, the panic.
Exactly. So this becomes his new framework, his survival plan, more integrated.
So what did that look like? How did he target all three?
Okay, so morning. Meditation first to calm the fear, mindset. Then mirror practice, speaking sentences, muscle, mindset. Listening to stories, repeating aloud, memory, muscle.
And during the day?
Lunch break. Listen to business English, but also force himself to say just one sentence to a coworker, muscle, mindset. Evening, reading, writing his daily journal in English, memory, mindset. Recording himself, muscle, mindset.
And even integrating it into daily life stuff.
Totally. Writing grocery lists in English. Labeling actions like washing, drying. He wasn't just studying English, he was trying to live in it, breathe it.
That total immersion, even self-created, that feels key.
It is. And that's when the smaller daily wins start adding up more noticeably. Ordering food confidently. Making a joke at lunch that actually lands.
And another neighbor compliment.
Yes, your English is nice. He called that one a medal. Felt earned.
So day 41 again. The day of the Zoom disaster. But he gets another chance.
Same day. Teammate's sick. He gets asked to do a short internal presentation. His gut says no, run away.
But he remembers the mirror moment.
Remembers the choice. Prepares like crazy again, but focuses on speaking, not just reading notes.
And how does this one go?
Nervous, handshaking, but he stands up, he speaks, forgets some lines, but uses simpler English to get through it, even throws in a little joke. David nods along.
He finishes. And the feeling...
Not just survival this time, he felt like he actually belonged, like he contributed.
That's huge. What a turnaround from the morning.
Massive. That night, notebook entry. Today, I became the man I lied about 41 days ago. Then adds, what else can I do in 19 more days?
The fear's still there, but it's not driving the bus anymore.
Exactly. It's background noise. Determination is louder now.
So those last 19 days,
Yeah.
something fundamental shifted.
He's not hiding anymore. He's engaging, listening deeper, understanding more. Mistakes happen, sure, but they're just data points now, not catastrophes.
There's that lovely story from the cafe around this time.
Oh, yeah. An old man notices his accent, asks where he's from. Lucas says Spain. The man compliments his English, asks where he learned.
And Lucas says,
From fear and from fire.
wow, from fear and from fire, that says it all.
Doesn't it? Captures the whole journey. The old man, turns out he's a retired professor, tells him, you didn't fake your way in, you fought your way in, you earned it.
What validation. That must have meant the world. And then, day 60 arrives.
The final day of his initial intense push, David calls him into his office, looks serious. Lucas is nervous. But David pulls out a sales report. The project Lucas worked on, sales up 17%. His design work made a difference.
Okay.
David looks at him, says something like, "When you joined, I had doubts. Your English was shaky, but you've changed. You're stronger, clearer. You're an asset now."
And the result of being an asset.
A massive salary increase from $3,500 a month to $5,200.
Get out. Seriously.
Seriously. Lucas is just stunned, can't speak. David shakes his hand. Just keep going. You've earned it.
60 days. From terrified liar to valued, rewarded team member. Incredible.
He walks out feeling like he's flying, walks all the way back to that tiny Queen's room where he'd cried in fear, and this time he's laughing out loud.
And the notebook entry that night.
English didn't just change my career, it changed my life.
And it really did, didn't it? The ripple effects were huge.
Totally. Helping coworkers, earning respect, his parents bursting with pride. Even his love life found someone who loved his accent and his story.
But the biggest change, the source says, was internal.
Confidence.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Starts applying for conferences, speaking up on calls, writing articles. People ask how he learned so fast.
And his answer is key.
Always corrects them. Not fast, deeply. With emotion, failure, tears, daily practice. With heart.
It wasn't a hack. It was hard, consistent, emotionally invested work.
Precisely. And he starts seeing English as this bridge, connecting worlds, small towns to big cities, dreams to reality, feeling invisible to being heard.
He felt not knowing it kept him stuck, ignored.
Yeah, but speaking it, even imperfectly at first, made the world pay attention, gave him a voice, made him belong.
He lists all those benefits: better job, study, connection, business, confidence, freedom, calls English a superpower.
Makes your brain sharper, world bigger, voice stronger. You see it playing out 2 years later.
Bigger apartment. Salary doubled again to $8,000 a month, leading a team.
Mentoring other immigrants, teaching them that swim lessons. Start small, one sentence, one word, one smile, one mistake. Just keep going, be better than yesterday. Consistency is everything.
So for you listening, if you feel that fear Lucas felt, small, behind, inadequate, his story shows, yeah, that pain is real. He lived it.
But it also shows that language, or whatever skill feels like a wall right now, it doesn't have to define you. It's power you can build, a door you can open.
It's not about perfection or fancy words. It's those small daily steps. And Lucas's journey gives us a really practical action plan.
Yeah, something you can actually do. Start the day, maybe not with your phone, but with a breath. Remind yourself why. Why are you learning this? I deserve better opportunities. I want to connect more. That why is your fuel.
That's your first win. Then, yeah, the mirror thing. Look yourself in the eye, say 5 simple lines about your day. Out loud, I am going in the kitchen. Today I will make coffee. Sounds basic, but it's building the muscle.
Don't feel silly. Kids learn like this. Be a student again. Then the notebook. 5 new words. But don't just write definitions. Write a personal sentence. Brave. Today I was brave when I. Make it yours. Connect the word to your life.
Okay, afternoon. Engage with English out there. Watch a short video, maybe a vlog or story, once with subtitles, once without. Listen for the rhythm, the sounds.
Then close your eyes. Try to summarize it in your own words, even broken English. Man happy. Went mountain. I like mountain. You're training your ear and your recall.
And the self-talk part, just 10 minutes.
Yeah, talk to yourself about anything. Your day, your thoughts, your cat. You don't need anyone else. You become your own teacher, your own conversation partner. That builds real self-reliance.
Then nighttime. Wind down, but integrate. Write a few lines about your day. In English, in that notebook. Don't stress about mistakes. Felt scared today, but tried. Or work hard. Tired, but practiced.
It's proof, tangible proof of your effort. Read it aloud. Look at your 5 words from the morning. Can you use one in your diary entry?
And the final step before sleep.
Whisper 3 positive things to yourself in English. I am improving. I am proud. Tomorrow, again. Simple affirmations in the language you're claiming. It sinks in. You're not just learning grammar, you're building self-belief.
These steps, they're not just practice, are they? They're acts of courage. Building habits.
Exactly. And people notice the effort. They respect it.
Yeah.
But way more importantly, you start respecting yourself.
And one day, like Lucas, you'll look back and just say, wow, I did it.
Don't give up. Remember, Lucas lost, ashamed, afraid, but he kept putting one foot in front of the other.
Because you're not just learning a language, you're building your life.
Yeah. And Lucas's story, it makes you think, doesn't it? If overcoming that fear, learning that one language could change everything for him, career, relationships, self-worth. What other fears, what other languages might be holding you back? What skill, what vulnerability do you need to face to start speaking your own deepest dreams into reality? Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving into a story today that starts with a single lie, really. Born out of fear, but somehow it ends up unlocking dreams.
Yeah, it's quite something.
It's a narrative about feeling completely out of your depth, facing failure head on and ultimately building a life you maybe didn't think you were quite good enough for.
That's right. The source material we're exploring, it's a really powerful personal account called From Broken English to New York Dream. It takes us right inside the mind, the journey of Lucas Rivera.
And our mission with this deep dive is to go beyond just, retelling the story. We want to really pull out the core, the universal lessons Lucas learned.
Exactly.
What does this story teach us practically about overcoming that kind of paralyzing fear? How do you actually go about learning something absolutely vital like a new language when the pressure is just crushing you every single day? And what does this show us about the process, the real messy process of building the life you genuinely want, starting with what feels like nothing but this huge hurdle?
Well, Lucas's background is really key to understanding the starting point, I think. He's from a quiet small town near Seville in Spain.
Right.
Not the bustling city life you might picture. It's a home environment he describes as focused on small dreams and big responsibilities. His parents were hardworking, but like many in his town, English just wasn't part of their world.
And he grew up with this idea that he'd probably never leave Spain, so English just didn't seem relevant, right?
Pretty much, but he held on to this massive, almost secret dream living in New York City.
Ah, the classic.
Yeah, the iconic city of lights where it felt like only the most confident people chased after these, impossible dreams.
But that dream felt impossibly distant because of his relationship with English. He really struggled with it deeply in school.
Oh, yeah. Grammar was a total mystery. He'd just memorize answers to pass tests, apparently. And he carried the weight of a specific embarrassing moment in ninth grade where he was laughed at for his English. And that really solidified this feeling of being not good enough when it came to the language. Just stuck with him.
So, okay, he's finished college, he's studied graphic design, he's good at it, but that small town feels too small. And then one night, scrolling job sites, he sees it.
Yep. A listing for a graphic designer position in Manhattan.
Wow.
And the requirements were just stark. Must be fluent in English. Must be confident in meetings. For Lucas, who was, well, neither.
Right.
It was terrifying. It felt like a direct challenge to his biggest insecurity.
But also, maybe an opportunity. He describes that moment, cold hands, heart pounding, opening his resume file. He goes to the languages section, deletes basic, and just types it. The lie English, fluent.
Let's see.
And then shaking, he hit send. Just like that.
And that decision, born of desperation and maybe a flicker of daring, it just set everything in motion. A week later, the email landed. Dear Lucas, we loved your portfolio. Can we schedule an interview?
Oh, the stomach drop moment.
Totally. He says his stomach just plummeted.
Panic. Immediate, absolute panic at that.
Yeah, he didn't tell anyone. He just replied yes, and they went straight down the rabbit hole online, searching things like how to speak English fluently in one day.
Oh, bless him. Knowing it's impossible, but...
Exactly. He knew it was irrational, but the fear was just overwhelming,
So what did he do?
He describes frantically practicing fake answers, writing them down, trying to memorize them like a script for a play he wasn't remotely ready for. But when the Zoom interview time came, he showed up.
He actually did it.
He did. He says his face was calm, but inside it was just chaos. He stumbled, his grammar was definitely broken, but he says he spoke with courage.
Okay.
He focused on conveying his design ideas, his passion, somehow, despite the language barrier. And incredibly, the next day, the offer letter arrived. He got the job.
No way, after all that.
Yes, his parents were overjoyed, beaming with pride, even if they didn't fully grasp the whole English situation. And just 2 weeks later, he was on a plane to New York City, a place he'd never been, about to live and work every single day in the language he feared most.
Wow. That lie on his resume. Suddenly it wasn't just a lie anymore.
No, it was a terrifying truth he now had to somehow earn.
Okay, so he lands. JFK. Around 5:45 p.m. He describes the physical sensations: cold hands, stiff back, but his eyes are wide, just taking it all in.
Yeah, he's finally in the city he'd only ever seen in movies.
And that initial sensory overload, he talks about that quite a bit.
Oh, definitely. It's a key part of the story. The potent mix of smells, the blur of motion, the sheer cacophony of languages. He saw people from everywhere and felt acutely aware of being just a small-town boy with 2 bags and that,
The big lie.
the one big lie hanging over him.
He'd booked the cheapest Airbnb he could find in Queens, right? Like $38 a night.
Yeah, tiny, basic, maybe a little dusty, he says. But he felt rich, like a movie star.
That's interesting.
It wasn't about the comfort, it was the feeling of absolute freedom and possibility this simple room represented for him.
Right, the potential. So that first evening, he didn't hit Times Square or anything.
Oh, no, he just walked around the local blocks, observing, listening, trying to decipher signs and menus. He was genuinely hungry, but the fear of speaking, of being asked something he wouldn't understand, was so strong he couldn't bring himself to actually order food anywhere.
So he ends up in a grocery store, grabs a sandwich, chips, soda. Total comes to $8.90.
Right.
He hands the cashier a $10 bill. And then the moment seems small, but
Huge for him.
Yeah.
The cashier said something quickly. Lucas just froze. He had absolutely no idea what "you want a bag" meant.
oh man.
He stammered, "Sorry, English not good." The man's eyes, he says, just rolled, and he repeated it slower. Lucas finally understood, mumbled a quick yes, took his things, and just fled, utterly humiliated.
By such a simple everyday thing. Wow.
Yeah. And that night, alone in his small room, eating that silent sandwich, he had his first panic attack. Not big and dramatic, he says, but small, quiet tears just falling. He whispered to himself, "What am I doing here? You said you're fluent. Tomorrow's your first day. What if they find out? What if they fire you?"
That grocery store moment and the panic, it really highlights the immediate, brutal reality check, doesn't it?
Totally. Fluency isn't just about passing an interview. It's navigating the simple, unexpected moments of daily life. And for Lucas, that failure hammered home just how far he was from the truth he'd claimed.
It turned the abstract fear into something really concrete and painful.
Exactly. It wasn't the big job interview that broke him. It was, "You want a bag." That vulnerability is just so relatable.
So, okay, the next morning, first day at work, looming. How did he even get out the door after that?
Terrified. Absolutely terrified. He describes putting on the clothes he had, wrapping a scarf around his neck like armor because he didn't have a proper winter coat.
Oh, wow.
He was physically trying to protect himself from the fear.
And the commute itself sounds like an ordeal. The subway, loud, crowded.
A nightmare. Missing trains, getting on the wrong platform, getting off at the wrong stop. Just navigating the city felt like this overwhelming test before the actual test even began.
Finally, he reaches the office building. Beautiful place in Manhattan. Heart pounding.
At reception, the lady spoke fast. He just clung to the few words he recognized, like name, appointment, 12th floor.
Right.
He managed to say, "My name Lucas, first day today,"
Yeah.
and understood which floor to go to, but was too paralyzed by fear to even say thank you.
Just bolted for the elevator.
Exactly. Just fled.
That elevator ride must have felt like the longest ride of his life. Just him and his thoughts.
Oh, absolutely. Just rising to meet this challenge he felt completely unprepared for. He met Sarah, his team lead. She sounded warm, he says, but spoke incredibly fast, showing him around.
And he's just catching fragments.
Fragments, pantry, free coffee, conference room. He just nodded and smiled, keeping the performance going.
Then he gets to his desk, sees the welcome card.
And the tears came again. This time, he says, not from sadness, but from a mix of disbelief and the sheer weight of having physically arrived at this dream, despite the crushing fear and, well, the lie.
The real test, though, was still coming. The team meeting at 10:30.
Oh, yeah. 6 native speakers. Fluent, fast, funny, throwing around office jargon he'd never heard.
Like what?
Circle back, pivot, what's the vibe, things like that. He describes his hands being cold, lips dry. He just sat there totally silent.
Until Sarah asked for his opinion.
Yep. Time stopped. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. The fear was physically blocking him.
Oh, God.
Then he forced the words out with really broken grammar.
I think design is nice, but maybe a little more bright.
More bright, oh dear. And that's the moment, isn't it? The lie bumping right up against reality in front of everyone.
Total silence. Then a gentle correction from a teammate. Yeah, I see what you mean. Add more color, right? Faster. Lucas quickly nodded. Yes, more color.
And how did people react? No one made a big deal of it outwardly, but he knew. He knew they noticed. His words were simple, grammar basic. He sounded like a beginner because he was one.
Right.
And in that moment, the performance just collapsed and his confidence plummeted. He felt totally exposed.
That feeling of exposure after the more bright comment, it wasn't just about saying the wrong word, was it?
No, not at all. It was the fear of judgment, the confirmation of his deepest insecurity that he wasn't good enough, wasn't ready. That moment is so critical because it forces a choice.
Absolutely. And that choice happened right after the meeting.
Immediately after, he went
Brilliant.
to the bathroom, looked in the mirror, and this was the pivotal moment. He actually spoke to his reflection, confronting the fear head on.
What did he say?
Basically, you have two choices. Be scared forever, hiding, pretending. Or become fluent, become fearless, even if it takes time, even if it's hard.
And he made the choice right there.
He made the choice. He wouldn't let the fear or the perceived failure define him. He decided he would become Lucas, the man who taught himself English from zero, who changed his life word by word, sentence by sentence.
That reframing,
I know.
that's
It
huge.
just shifted everything.
So that night, he didn't just crawl into bed defeated.
No. He sat in his tiny room, opened a fresh notebook, wrote Mission English Fluency at the top, and started building his plan.
What was in the plan?
Wake up at 5 a.m., watch videos, repeat, write sentences, speak in the mirror, record himself. And the personal mantra, the one that tied back to the very beginning.
Yeah.
You lied once. Now earn the truth.
Earn the truth. That's powerful. It acknowledges the start, but shifts the focus entirely to the effort needed.
Exactly. He calls that the first day. That really changed everything for him.
Okay, so the daily grind of earning that truth begins 5 a.m.
Yep. Still dark, cold room, bitter coffee, no time for food, just pure focus. He found those English conversation videos online. Pausing, rewinding, repeating lines word for word. Hey, long time no see. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Over and over.
He talks about the physical awkwardness of it, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah. His tongue felt stiff, his mouth unused to making these sounds. It felt like teaching a baby to talk. But the act of deliberately breaking down sentences, repeating them, focusing, it felt powerful. This became his daily power hour before work.
And then he added more layers.
After about a week, yeah. Mirror practice. Standing in front of the bathroom mirror, talking to himself.
Like actually talking.
Introducing himself, practicing ordering food. He admits how ridiculous and stupid he felt sometimes, laughing at himself. But he held on to this emerging insight. Embarrassment is the price of growth.
That's a good one. Embarrassment is the price of growth.
Isn't it? And the practice extended into his evenings, too. Scheduled time for TV shows with subtitles, writing new sentences, recording his own voice, and listening back.
Oh, listening back is brutal.
He hated it. Hated how his voice sounded, the strong accent, the weak grammar. But he committed to doing it every single day. That consistency, even when it was uncomfortable or sounded bad, was just non-negotiable for him.
That daily discipline is key. Did he get any outside feedback early on?
There's a small, really lovely moment. One night, his Airbnb host heard him practicing in the bathroom and knocked, asking if he was okay.
Ah.
When Lucas explained, the host laughed and said, "Ha, good. You'll be American in no time." Lucas says that was the very first compliment he got on his English.
Wow.
And he smiled about it all night. That little piece of external validation meant the world in those early, really difficult days.
Yeah, validation is huge when you're in the thick of it. But learning also involves setbacks, right? Those mistakes. It must have felt like massive failures at first.
Absolutely. He highlights specific mistakes as his teachers, like the email where he wrote "find the attached the file."
Oh, yeah, common one.
And his teammates' gentle correction taught him more than a grammar book might have right then.
Or the presentation thing. More fastly.
Exactly. The silence, the manager's raised eyebrow, the teammate whispering the correct word faster, the dry mouth, shaking hands.
That must have crushed him.
He says he lost his confidence entirely in that moment. The feeling of public failure just hit so hard. On the train home, he fought back tears, and when he got to his room, he let them fall.
Understandable.
But then he opened his grammar book and consciously wrote, "Today I learned we say faster, not more fastly. Every mistake is a teacher. I wasn't failing, I was learning."
That reframing again, it's incredible. Turning shame into data, failure into feedback.
Precisely. He wasn't making mistakes, he was collecting teachers. After 2 weeks of this intense, structured practice, he added another challenge, stepping out of his comfort zone on weekends.
Okay, what did that involve?
His simple goal, talk to one stranger, just one. The first time, he saw an old man in a coffee shop. He walked up, heart absolutely pounding, and managed. "Hi, my name is Lucas. I'm learning English. Can I sit?"
Brave.
The man was surprised but welcoming.
And they talked.
They talked for 20 minutes. Lucas shared his story. The man shared about his late wife. And at the end, the man said, Your English is good.
Nice.
Lucas, grounded in his process, replied, "Not yet, but I try." The man gave him a thumbs up.
That's great.
Lucas says he felt like a hero that day. Not because he was suddenly fluent, but because he'd had the courage to step into the fear, initiate the conversation, and connect with someone despite the language barrier. That courage was the real victory.
So by the end of the first month, this consistent, deliberate effort, it was starting to show tangible results.
Oh yeah, concrete results. He tracked them meticulously.
Yeah.
2 notebooks filled, 45 practice hours logged,
Wow.
$200 spent on coffee and snacks talking to strangers.
Yeah.
That's a commitment right there.
That really is.
4 new friends made, understanding about 60% of conversations at work, and crucially, his confidence was growing. That initial paralyzing fear was definitely shrinking day by day.
Okay, so things are looking up. Then comes the turning point at work in the second month.
Yeah. His team had a big client presentation, and Sarah, his team lead, asked him to lead the design section.
Whoa. Okay. Big step.
Huge step. He panicked, obviously, but she stood firm. "Yes, you've worked hard, Lucas. It's time."
No pressure.
Right. He didn't sleep that night, practicing his lines 50 times over, the words becoming muscle memory.
I bet.
The next day, standing in front of the client, his hands were shaking, his voice was low, but he started. He didn't read from notes, he spoke. He made mistakes, forgot a sentence.
Oh, no.
But he didn't stop. He just kept going. Found other words.
Good for him.
And when he finished and looked up, they were clapping. His manager was smiling. The client gave positive feedback, specifically mentioning the color story he presented.
Amazing.
Lucas walked out of that room with his chest out, shoulders high, tears in his eyes. He wasn't the terrified Lucas the liar anymore. He was Lucas the English speaker, the warrior, the man who didn't give up.
Wow, what a moment.
He called his mother that night, told her everything. They both cried with pride over the phone. Looking out at the New York lights, the same lights that had seemed so intimidating just weeks earlier, he whispered to himself, "This is just the beginning."
That feeling of earning it, actually earning that truth, powerful.
So powerful.
He realized he had 31 days left in his initial stay, right? 31 days to fully survive and really solidify this.
Yeah, and even on those later mornings, like day 31 and beyond, standing at the mirror, he'd still see a flicker of the old fear sometimes. But he'd repeat the mantra he'd put on a sticky note. One sentence better than yesterday. The focus stayed on continuous, small improvement.
But progress isn't always a straight line, is it? There was a setback.
A significant one, yeah. It arrived unexpectedly. His manager, David, called him into a client Zoom call, a real one. Fast, natural conversation, high stakes.
Oh, boy.
Lucas's physical reaction was immediate. Weak legs, cold hands, stomach twisting. He could only grasp maybe 20% of what was being said. Just totally lost.
What did he do?
He tried desperately to hide it, smiling, nodding, laughing when others did, frantically writing down words he didn't understand to look up later.
The bluffing game.
Exactly. After the call ended, David just looked at him in silence for a moment before walking away. Lucas says that silence, that unspoken acknowledgement of his failure, hit me harder than any insult. He felt like he was right back at the beginning, a complete failure.
Oof. That silence can be brutal. It's easy to feel that way when you hit a wall after making real progress.
Totally. But that moment of despair actually led to another breakthrough. That sleepless night, listening to a simple English podcast for beginners, he heard a line that just struck him like lightning.
What was the line?
Fluency is not magic. It's memory, muscle, and mindset.
Memory, muscle, and mindset.
He wrote it down immediately. This wasn't about some abstract gift or talent. It was about concrete components he could actually work on.
Right. Memory for words and phrases.
Muscle for the physical act of speaking and the habit of practice.
And mindset for handling the fear and the inevitable failures.
Exactly. He took that insight and created a new, even more robust survival plan. This wasn't just about vocabulary anymore. It was holistic.
Okay. Walk us through that plan. How did it structure his days now?
It had distinct phases. Mornings, 6 a.m. started with 10 minutes of meditation to calm the mind.
Interesting.
Then, 10 mere sentences about his day. Listening and repeating a short English story. And writing 5 new words, but, and this is key, with his own personal sentences using them, not just definitions.
Making it relevant. Okay. What about the afternoon?
During his lunch break, 1:30 p.m., watch a 10-minute business conversation video to build that work-specific language. And a crucial brave step, speak one sentence to a coworker. Just one interaction. Initiate something.
That takes guts. And evenings.
Evenings, 7-9 p.m. Read one page of The Alchemist in English. Practice writing emails, journal entries, thoughts on specific topics. Record 5 minutes about his day and listen back. Review flashcards. Watch 10 minutes of a movie with subtitles.
Wow, that structure is so deliberate. It's not just consuming English, it's actively producing it in multiple ways and weaving in the mindset stuff with the meditation.
Right. He says this routine changed everything.
I can see why.
It created consistent exposure and practice across all the different skills: reading, writing, listening, speaking, and different contexts: personal, work, casual. And he started seeing concrete progress again, in small ways, day by day.
Like what kind of things?
Well, day 34. Ordering food confidently at Subway without freezing up.
Nice. Progress.
Day 36. Actually making a joke at lunch that made his coworkers laugh.
Ah,
A huge step towards feeling socially integrated.
definitely.
Day 38. The lady in his apartment building spontaneously saying, "Oh, your English is nice." He said it felt like receiving a medal. Proof the effort was visible to others.
Those small moments of positive feedback are like rocket fuel, aren't they?
Incredibly powerful. He also started integrating English even more deeply into his life, right? Like really weaving it in.
Yeah, tell us about that.
He started writing absolutely everything in English in a notebook. His daily expenses. Rent, $1,200. Groceries, $148.35. Descriptions for mundane tasks like laundry, washing, drying, folding clothes. Grocery lists, eggs, cheese, cereal.
Why do that?
The goal wasn't just practice. It was about forcing his brain to actually think in English, building that internal fluency. He felt like he wasn't just living around English anymore, he was breathing it.
That's a profound shift, moving from English as the subject you study to English as the operating system of your daily life.
Exactly. And that led to another big moment at work.
Day 41, the internal presentation.
That's the one. A teammate was sick, and David, the manager, asked Lucas to handle a 10-minute internal presentation. Last minute.
Oh, wow, his immediate reaction.
Fear. He wanted to say no. But that inner voice, now stronger from weeks and weeks of practice, whispered, "You're ready."
So he stepped up.
He did. He prepared intensely for 3 hours that night, practicing not just the words, but his delivery, practicing in the mirror, even practicing his smile.
Practicing the smile, I like that.
The next day, standing up, hands still shaking a bit, he took a deep breath and started.
How did it go?
This time, he didn't hide behind notes. He spoke. He forgot lines, but instead of freezing like before, he simply replaced them with simpler English he knew. He smiled at his mistakes, acknowledging them without letting them derail him. He even added a joke.
And it landed.
It landed. David nodded at the end. It wasn't just about the language, it was about his presence, his ability to recover, his confidence. And for the first time, Lucas says he truly felt like he belonged in that office.
That's huge. Belonging.
That night, he wrote in his notebook, "Today, I became the man I lied about 41 days ago." And the question immediately followed, what else can I do in 19 more days?
The goal shifted again. Not just surviving, but thriving, exploring potential.
Exactly. Those last 19 days were different. The constant undercurrent of fear finally receded. He wasn't just practicing English, he was speaking it, listening to it, understanding it more naturally. It wasn't something external he was trying to grasp anymore. It became, as he puts it, part of my blood.
He started to actually enjoy it.
Genuinely enjoy English. Reading everything around him, learning to smile at his mistakes rather than cringe.
And there was that encounter in the cafe with the professor.
Ah, yes. A really touching moment that solidified this transformation. He struck up a conversation with an older American man, a retired professor. The man complimented his English, asking how long he'd been speaking it.
And Lucas's reply was,
"Beautiful," he said. "From fear and from fire."
wow.
He ended up sharing his entire journey with the professor, the fake resume, the struggle, the daily plan, and the professor's response was incredibly validating.
What did he say?
He said, "You didn't fake your way into this life. You fought your way in. You earned it."
Oh, that's powerful validation. Fought your way in.
Yeah. That external validation from someone who recognized the struggle and the sheer effort. It reinforced the truth he had been working so hard to earn internally.
And then came day 60, the planned end of his initial 60-day intense push.
Yep. David called him into his office. The look was serious. Lucas was probably bracing himself. David showed him a sales report graph. The project Lucas had been working on, his design work, had seen a 17% increase in performance.
Really?
Really. David acknowledged his initial doubts when Lucas started, but then stated clearly that Lucas had changed, become stronger, clearer, an asset to the team.
Okay.
And then came the announcement. A salary increase. from $3,500 a month to $5,200 per month.
Whoa. Serious?
Seriously. Lucas was stunned, completely speechless.
Mm.
David shook his hand and said, just keep going. You've earned it.
There it is again. Earned it.
Earned it. Lucas walked out of that office feeling like he was flying.
I can only imagine. What a climax to those 60 days.
He went back to that same little apartment in Queens where he'd had his first panic attack, where he'd cried in fear. But this time he was laughing. Looking out the window at the city lights that no longer seemed intimidating, he wrote in his notebook, English didn't just change my career, it changed my life.
And the transformation just rippled out from there, didn't it? Into every area of his life.
Completely. He was able to help coworkers more effectively, earning their respect. His parents were bursting with pride, his mother telling him his English sounded so professional over the phone.
That must have felt amazing.
He even started dating Emily, who found his dedication and his whole 60-day journey incredibly romantic and actually loved his accent.
See? Sometimes the accent works.
Right. But the biggest change was internal. His confidence. It grew exponentially. He started applying for conferences, speaking up confidently in meetings, even writing articles.
And when people asked him the inevitable question, how did you learn English so fast?
His reply was always the same. I didn't learn it fast, I learned it deeply, with daily practice, with heart. He understood that speed wasn't the key, depth and consistency were.
That's such an important distinction. Learned it deeply. This whole journey led Lucas to a really powerful realization about English itself, didn't it? More than just words.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
That English is more than just a language. It's a bridge. It connects people, cities, dreams to reality. He saw that, like it or not, the world listens in English.
And when you don't know it.
You can feel invisible, ignored, stuck on the outside looking in. But when you start speaking, even imperfectly, the world turns and looks at you. You become part of the conversation. The opportunities open up.
He actually made a list of why learning English matters.
He did. Not just for him, but for anyone. A better job, obviously. Studying abroad, connecting with people globally, growing a business, gaining confidence, gaining freedom. He calls it a tool, sometimes a weapon, even a superpower.
Superpower.
Yeah, that makes your brain sharper, your world bigger, your voice stronger.
And it's now been 2 years since that first terrified arrival. How's he doing?
He's thriving. Bigger apartment, earns $8,000 a month now, leads a team of 12 people.
Wow. From more bright to leading a team.
Incredible, right. And he's dedicated to teaching other immigrants the same method. His message is so simple. Start with one sentence, one word, one mistake every single day. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be better than yesterday.
Better than yesterday. That's the core.
And he speaks directly to anyone listening who might be feeling that specific pain. That feeling of being small, silent, overlooked in English-speaking environments. That burning desire inside, but the fear holding you back. He says, quite movingly, that pain, I've felt it too.
He really connects with that struggle.
Deeply. He emphasizes it's not about grammar textbooks or fancy words. It's about consistent, small, daily steps built on courage and commitment. You are not lazy. You are not too late. You're just starting now.
And he offers you, the listener, a simplified version of that daily plan that changed everything for him.
Yes, a starting point.
Okay, let's hear it. What's the starting point for someone feeling that fear today?
Okay. Morning. Take a deep breath and say it out loud or just to yourself. I am learning English because I deserve a better life. Anchor your why.
Powerful start.
Then look in the mirror and say 5 simple sentences about your day or how you feel. Just get used to hearing your own voice. And write down 5 new English words, but crucially write a personal sentence with each one. Connect the word to your life. Make it stick.
Okay, personal sentences. Got it. Afternoon.
Afternoon. Watch a short video in English. Could be anything, news, a hobby, a simple story on YouTube. Watch it with or without subtitles, your choice. Then close your eyes and just try to summarize what you understood in your own words, even if they're broken sentences. Just process it.
Okay.
And take 10 minutes sometime in the afternoon to just talk to yourself out loud about anything that comes to mind. Your day, your dreams, your worries. You're becoming your own best teacher and conversational partner.
Getting comfortable with your own English voice. And
Night.
Write 5 to 10 lines about your day in English in a notebook or on your phone. Just a simple recap. Read those lines aloud. Review those 5 new words from the morning and try to use them again, maybe in your writing.
Reinforcing the learning.
Exactly. And finally, before you sleep, whisper 3 positive affirmations to yourself. I am improving. I am proud of myself. Tomorrow I will try again.
Ending the day on a positive, forward-looking note. It's those small, consistent, intensely personal practices that build the memory, muscle, and mindset. It's not just learning English. It's building a new relationship with yourself, healing that feeling of not good enough.
He promises that these small daily steps will help you dream bigger, open opportunities you can't even see right now, earn respect from others.
But most importantly, earn self-respect.
Yeah.
One day, he says, you will look back and say, I did it. And his message for anyone feeling scared of English right now is simple, direct, and really from the heart. Don't give up.
Oh.
I was once you, but I kept going.
Lucas Rivera's journey, wow. From that single fearful lie to a truth earned through just relentless discipline and courage.
Yeah.
Such a powerful reminder that fluency, whether in a language or any other skill, it isn't some kind of magic trick, is it?
Not at all. It's built. It's memory you accumulate brick by brick. It's muscle you train through repetition, through showing up even when you don't feel like it.
Yeah.
And it's the mindset you cultivate to keep going despite the mistakes and the setbacks.
It's about showing up, practicing, failing, learning from the failure, and keeping that promise you made to yourself.
And his story really elevates language learning beyond just grammar and vocabulary, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It becomes this incredible example of how deep commitment to daily, deliberate practice, especially when it's fueled by a really strong why, like a dream or just sheer necessity, can fundamentally transform not just a single skill, but your entire life. He started by building his English word by word, sentence by sentence.
And what he shows us is that learning a language can be the foundational piece for building so much more genuine confidence, a successful career, meaningful relationships, and ultimately a whole new version of yourself in a life you once thought was completely out of reach.
So, thinking about Lucas's journey and those small daily steps he committed to, maybe the question for you listening is, what small, consistent step could you take starting today to begin building the life you dream of, word by word, step by step? Okay, let's kick off this deep dive. Today, we're tackling something I think a lot of us can relate to.
Yeah.
That fear when a huge life change demands a skill you just don't really have.
Right. And specifically, we're zoning in on moving to a new country and needing a language you barely speak. It's terrifying.
It really is. And our source material for this deep dive, it all comes down to one story. Super compelling. It's about a listener, Lucas, and his intense journey learning English, almost from scratch.
Yeah. Intense is the word. Sometimes brutal, actually. But ultimately life-changing.
So our mission here is to really dig into his experience, pull apart those moments of fear, the choices he made, the specific things he did every day.
We want to see what lessons we can pull out
Right.
about pushing past that awful, gut-wrenching fear and actually hitting a huge goal, even when you feel like you're starting way behind.
Exactly. If you've ever felt, inadequate or just scared to speak up or face something that seemed impossible,
then Lucas's story has some really powerful stuff for you. And it's not just about learning English, is it? It's about courage, building the life you actually want.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Lucas Rivera, mid-20s, from a small town near Seville in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we picture Seville, flamenco, passion, big energy. But Lucas describes his upbringing as pretty quiet. Working-class parents only spoke Spanish.
Right. Spanish was everything, his whole world. Home, school, life, and English. In school, it was just a disaster for him.
His worst subject, he said.
Totally. Struggled with grammar, felt stupid, basically just memorized answers to past tests. Didn't really get it.
He even shares this, specific memory. Painful one. 9th grade, asked to read English out loud, and he just froze.
Yeah, and everyone laughed. He heard the teacher say something about practice, but all he really heard was, "You're not good enough." And that was kind of it for him in English class. He just shut down.
Wow. That stuff sticks with you. But underneath all that fear, he had this dream.
A secret one. New York City.
Yeah, he pictured it, the opposite of his life. Confident people, amazing English, big dreams, totally out of reach, he thought, specifically because of the language thing.
Exactly. It was just this quiet hope he had. And then something happens. He finishes his studies in graphic design. He's good at it, but he wants more.
More than his small town could offer.
Right. And he sees this job posting, creative agency, Manhattan.
The dream. But it requires fluent English, confidence in meetings, international applicants welcome, it said.
And this is it, the moment. He's looking at his dream job,
Yeah.
knows his English is, terrible.
So what does he do? This is kind of nuts.
He takes this huge risk. He talks about sitting there, hands literally shaking, opens his resume, and under languages, he just types it, English fluent.
Wow. Just like that.
Just puts it there, knowing it's a lie. But he hits send, just driven by this, like, desperate hope.
That's grave. Or desperate, maybe.
A bit of both, I think. And then a week later, bam, email. Loved your portfolio, interview.
Oh, man, stomach drop moment.
Total panic. He said he immediately searched online how to learn English fluently in one day. Knew it was ridiculous, but just pure fear.
So he crams for this Zoom interview like it's another test.
Exactly. Memorizing phrases. Then the interview happens. He knows his English is broken. He's messing up.
But he gets the job.
He gets the job. The offer letter arrives. And it's this wave of disbelief, right? Followed immediately by this crushing realization. Okay, that lie. It's my reality now.
He has 2 weeks.
2 weeks to move to New York. Never been there. Never really spoken English outside a classroom. He actually has to become that fluent person.
That jump. Small town Spain to JFK Airport. 2 bags and this massive secret. The way the sources describe his arrival.
It's like sensory overload, isn't it? Different smells, the noise, the sheer speed of everything. People walking, talking, eating, all so fast.
And the language just washing over him. Way too fast.
And he just feels tiny, totally out of place. This kid from Seville with his bags and his big lie.
Finds a cheap little Airbnb in Queens. Tiny room. But he said it felt like freedom.
But that freedom comes with immediate fear. He walks around that first night just looking, listening, starving, hungry.
But too scared to order food.
Yeah. The thought of misunderstanding, looking stupid, it was paralyzing.
And then that specific moment in the grocery store, grabs the sandwich, goes to pay.
Hands over the money, and the guy behind the counter says something fast. Lucas just freezes.
Doesn't understand.
Nope. The guy rolls his eyes, repeats it slow. Bag! You want bag? Lucas nods, finally gets it. The guy practically throws the stuff in the bag.
Oh, the embarrassment. That feeling just burns.
He walks out feeling awful, eats the sandwich alone later, just thinking, what have I done? What am I doing here?
And that leads to the first panic attack.
Yeah, but quiet. Just tears, sitting there whispering to himself, you lied. They'll find out tomorrow you're fired.
Just the weight of it all. The lie, the reality hitting him. So, day 1. The job in Manhattan. How does that go?
Gets up crazy early, tries to figure out the subway, loud, confusing, gets lost. Finally makes it to this gorgeous, intimidating office building.
Another awkward moment at reception.
Pretty much. Doesn't really understand. Just says his name, why he's there. Too scared to even manage a thank you.
Then he meets Sarah, his team lead. She sounds nice.
Warm, friendly, but her English is fast. She gives him the office tour. He's just nodding, pretending, trying to look like he gets it. Inside, he's completely lost.
Sits down at his desk. There's a welcome card.
And the tears come again. But this time it's mixed, right? Fear, but also, wow, I'm actually here.
Then the team meeting. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Well,
6 native speakers, talking fast, using all this office slang, circle back, pivot, what's the vibe? He's just frozen, silent.
until Sarah asks him for his opinion, the moment he dreaded.
Total silence in the room, you can imagine. He forces himself. Says something like, I think design is nice, but maybe a little more bright.
Broken grammar, hesitant.
Totally. A teammate kindly jumps in, add more color, right? And the meeting just moves on. Nobody dwells on it, but he knows.
He knows they noticed. He sounds like a complete beginner.
The heat rushing to his cheeks. That feeling of being totally exposed.
So after the meeting, he escapes to the bathroom. And this is a really key moment.
It's the turning point. He looks in the mirror, and he basically gives himself an ultimatum.
Okay.
Whispers to himself, okay, Lucas, 2 choices. Be scared forever or become fluent. Become fearless.
Wow.
And right there, he decides he's not just going to wish he spoke English, he's going to make it happen. He decides he will become the guy who taught himself English from zero, word by word.
That decision, it's not just about language, is it? It's about taking control back.
Exactly, reclaiming his agency. So what does that look like? How does Mission English Fluency actually start?
Yeah, what's the plan?
It starts small, but super consistent. That same night, back in the tiny room, he gets a notebook, writes Mission English Fluency on the first page, and makes a strict plan, the core. Wake up at 5 a.m. every single day.
Oof, 5 a.m. That's commitment, especially when you're already stressed and exhausted.
Totally. He talks about how cold the room was, how much he wanted to just stay in bed, but he'd stand up, take a deep breath, and say out loud, "Good morning, Lucas. Today we begin." Make some bitter coffee, and that first hour, 5 to 6, that's his power hour. Pure practice.
What kind of practice are we talking?
At first, really simple stuff. Finding YouTube videos of native speakers and just copying them,
Yeah.
repeating sentences out loud, things like, hey, long time no see, or I've been great, just busy.
Mimicking.
Yeah. He said his mouth felt stiff, like the sounds were foreign, like teaching a baby to talk, he put it. But actually making the sounds, even badly, felt powerful somehow.
And then he added mirror practice.
After about a week, yeah. Standing in the bathroom, talking to himself in the mirror, practicing ordering food, introducing himself. Said he felt ridiculous, laughed at himself.
Good. Kept doing it.
Kept doing it. He had this thought. Embarrassment is the price of growth, and he decided he was willing to pay it.
That's a great line. And his evenings were planned too.
Yep. Watch English TV, but with subtitles on. Write down 5 new sentences every night. And this is a tough one. Record himself speaking.
Oh, yeah, listening back to yourself.
It's brutal, hearing your accent, your mistakes. He said it sounded weird, his grammar felt weak, but he made himself do it every day.
So it's this constant, varied, really active kind of practice. When does he get the first hint it might actually be working?
Just a small moment, but significant. His Airbnb host overheard him practicing one night. Knocked on the door, asked if he was okay. Lucas explained.
And the host.
Just said, good, your English is nice.
Your English is nice. After all that struggle, that must have felt amazing.
He said it wasn't perfect English, the compliment itself, but yeah, it was the first one. He smiled all night. Just that little bit of outside proof that the struggle wasn't for nothing.
But it's never a straight line up, is it? Must have been setbacks. Moments of fear came roaring back.
Oh, absolutely. He talks about mistakes at work, sending an email saying, please attach the file, just a small grammar error. But a teammate gently corrected him, and it felt like a punch to the gut. His pride took a hit.
And there was a presentation mistake, too.
Yeah, that one sounded painful. He wanted to say something needed to be faster, but he said, more fastly.
Oh, no.
Silence. His manager kind of raised an eyebrow. Another teammate quietly whispered the correction. He said his confidence just vanished. Face flush, feeling terrible.
How did he cope with that kind of public mistake, feeling so exposed?
He describes heading to the restroom again after that presentation, looking in the mirror, just asking, why can't I get this right? On the train home, really fighting back tears.
It sounds crushing.
It was. He got home, he did cry, but then, and this is key, he opened his grammar book, he found the rule, wrote it down in his notebook, big letters. Today I learned we say faster, not more fastly.
So he's actively turning the mistake into a lesson.
Exactly. That reframing was critical. He started seeing it like, okay, every mistake is actually a teacher. I'm not failing here. I'm learning. That shift in mindset, it let him keep going. The embarrassment became fuel.
Okay, so he's practicing hard, learning from mistakes. When does he start trying to talk to people again, like out in the wild?
After about 2 solid weeks of this intense routine, he set himself a tiny goal. Talk to one stranger. Just one, every weekend, in a coffee shop.
That takes guts, especially after the grocery store incident.
Huge guts. The first time he sees this older man sitting alone, he psychs himself up, walks over, hands shaking, and just says, hi, my name is Lucas. I'm learning English. Can I sit?
Wow. Just putting himself out there.
Yeah.
Vulnerable.
Totally. The man was a bit surprised, but then he smiled. They ended up talking for like 20 minutes. And the man was encouraging, said, keep trying. You'll get there.
That must have felt incredible.
Lucas said he felt like a hero, not because his English was suddenly perfect, but because he'd found the courage just to try, to speak at all.
That move from being frozen by fear to taking action, even small action. So after a whole month of this, where's he at?
He's filling notebooks, practiced for dozens of hours, actually made a couple of friends. At work, he reckons he's understanding maybe 60% of the conversations.
That's real progress.
Definitely. His confidence is noticeably growing. And just as importantly, the fear is shrinking. It's still there, but the consistent action is chipping away at it.
Okay, so confidence is building. Time for a bigger test at work, I bet.
You got it. 2nd month in, Sarah asks him to lead the design part of a client presentation.
Whoa, client-facing.
Yeah. He says he panicked inside. Like, no way. But Sarah seemed to trust him, so he felt he had to say yes. Had to try.
How did he even prepare for that?
Intensely. Practiced his lines over and over. He said maybe 50 times. The
Yeah.
day comes, he's standing there in front of the client, hands shaking, voice a bit low.
But does he get through it?
He keeps going. He messes up a few times, forgets some words, but he doesn't freeze. He finishes, and people clap.
Wow, that's huge, a real turning point moment.
He said walking out of that room, he felt like a warrior, not the liar who snuck in. He called his mom that night, told her everything. They both cried. He felt like he'd actually earned his place.
Amazing. But the journey wasn't quite smooth sailing yet, was it? There was another big hurdle. Day 41.
Oh, yeah, the setback. His manager, David, asks him to handle a client Zoom call, like lead it. Real client, high stakes, live.
Oh, man, the pressure.
The fear came flooding back. He said yes, but his voice cracked. On the call, the client spoke so fast, Lucas felt like he only understood maybe 20%. He tried to fake it, nodding, smiling, but he knew he was lost.
And David's reaction after?
Silence. Lucas said that silence felt worse than any yelling could have. He just knew he'd failed that test. He was absolutely crushed.
How do you come back from that?
Couldn't sleep that night. He was just lying there feeling awful, listening to a beginner English podcast to distract himself. And he hears this one line that just clicks.
What was it?
Fluency is not magic. It's memory, muscle, and mindset.
Memory, muscle, and mindset. Okay.
Yeah. He grabs his notebook, writes it down, and this becomes the key for his next phase. He realizes, okay, I've been working on the memory vocab, grammar. I've been working the muscle speaking practice. But I haven't really tackled the mindset piece enough, the panic, the fear, the self-doubt.
So he needed a plan that addressed all three.
Exactly. His survival plan, he called it. It became much more integrated into his old day.
Like how?
Morning. Started with meditation, specifically to calm the fear. Then the mirror practice speaking sentences out loud. Muscle, mindset. Listening to simple stories and repeating them. Memory, muscle.
Okay.
Lunch break. Listen to business English podcasts. Force himself to say just one sentence to a coworker, anything relevant. Muscle, mindset.
Wow, making himself interact.
Evening. More reading. Writing, journaling about his day in English. Memory, mindset. Recording himself again. Muscle, mindset. And then, this is interesting, he started integrating English into just life. Writing grocery lists in English. Labeling actions, washing dishes, folding clothes.
He wasn't just studying English anymore. He was trying to live in it.
That was the shift. Total immersion, even if he had to kind of create it himself. And that's when the smaller, everyday changes really started showing up.
Like what?
Ordering food confidently, making a joke at lunch with coworkers that actually landed, they laughed. Getting another compliment from a neighbor. Hey, your English is really getting good. He called that compliment a medal.
Those little wins must have felt huge. Then, day 41 again, a chance for redemption.
Yeah, same day as that awful Zoom call. Later that afternoon, a teammate calls in sick. They need someone to do a short internal presentation.
Oh, wow. Right after the failure.
He wanted to say no, absolutely not, but then he remembered that choice in the mirror. He said yes, prepared like crazy for a few hours, focusing on speaking from notes, not reading word for word.
How did this one go?
Nervous, definitely, hands shaking again. But he stood up, and he spoke. He forgot some lines, but this time he didn't freeze. He just used simpler English to explain the point. He even managed a little joke.
And David. The man.
David nodded along, seemed positive. Lucas finished, and he said, for the first time, he didn't just feel like he'd survived the presentation. He felt like he actually belonged there.
What a turnaround in one day.
Huge. That night, he wrote in his notebook, today I became the man I lied about 41 days ago. And then he added, what else can I do in 19 more days? The fear wasn't gone, but now it was just background noise. Determination was louder.
Those last 19 days sounds like something fundamental shifted.
He wasn't fighting the fear so much anymore. He was just doing the work. Speaking, listening, understanding more deeply. English wasn't this scary monster. It was becoming part of him.
Reading everything, listening constantly.
Mistakes still happened, of course, but they didn't floor him. He just noted them, learned, moved on.
There's that lovely story from the cafe around this time.
Oh, yeah. An old man heard his accent, asked where he was from. Lucas says Spain. The man comments, your English is really very good. Where did you learn?
And Lucas's answer.
From fear and from fire.
Wow. From fear and from fire. That just says it all, doesn't it?
Perfectly sums up the whole journey. And the old man, who turned out to be a retired professor, told him something powerful. He said, son, you didn't fake your way into this life. You fought your way in. You earned it.
That must have landed deep. Real validation. And then day 60 finally rolls around.
David calls him into his office, looks serious. Lucas probably thought, oh no, what now?
Yeah.
But David pulls out a sales report. The project Lucas had presented on internally, sales were up 17%. His design work had made a tangible difference.
Incredible.
David looks right at him, says something like, Lucas, when you started, I had my doubts. Your English was shaky. But you've changed. You're stronger now, clearer. You're an asset to this team.
And the punchline.
A massive salary increase from $3,500 a month to $5,200.
Wow, what a jump.
Lucas was just stunned, couldn't speak. David just shook his hand, said, just keep going, Lucas, you've earned this.
From terrified applicant banking on a lie to valued asset with a huge raise. In 60 days.
He said he walked out of that office feeling like he was floating. Walked all the way back to that tiny room in Queens where he'd cried in fear on the first night. And this time, he just laughed. Sat down and wrote in his notebook, English didn't just change my career, it changed my life.
And it clearly did. The story talks about the ripple effects, right? Helping coworkers, gaining respect, his parents being so proud, even meeting someone, dating Emily, who loved his accent and his story.
Yeah, all those external things were great. But the biggest change, it was internal.
Confidence.
Pure confidence.
Yep.
He starts applying to speak at conferences, handles client calls without panicking, writes articles. People started asking him, how did you learn English so fast?
And his answer.
He always corrected them. I didn't learn it fast, he'd say. I learned it deeply, with emotion, with failure, with tears, with daily practice, and with heart.
That really is the core of it, isn't it? No magic trick. Just consistent, emotionally invested, hard work.
Absolutely. And he started seeing English differently. Not just a skill, but like a bridge. Connecting small towns to big cities, connecting his dreams to reality.
He felt invisible without it. Ignored.
Right. But speaking it, even imperfectly at first, made the world notice. It gave him a voice, made him feel like he belonged in the conversation.
He lists all the benefits, right? Better job, study abroad, talking to people, growing a business, confidence, freedom.
Calls it a superpower. Makes your brain sharper, world bigger, voice stronger.
And 2 years later, the update is pretty amazing.
Yeah, bigger apartment, salary doubled again, like $8,000 a month, leading his own team, and mentoring other immigrants.
Passing on the lessons.
Exactly. Teaching them the same thing. Start small. One sentence, one word, one awkward conversation, one mistake learned from. Just aim to be a tiny bit better than yesterday. Consistency is everything.
So for you listening right now, if you feel anything like Lucas did at the start, that fear, feeling small, feeling behind, his story is proof that it's okay to feel that way. He was there.
But it also shows that language, or really any skill you feel you're lacking, it doesn't have to define you forever. It's a door you can build a key for. It's power you can develop.
And it's not about perfection or fancy vocabulary. It's about those small, steady, daily actions. Lucas's journey basically gives us a roadmap, an action plan we can use.
Right. So maybe tomorrow morning, don't grab your phone first thing. Instead, take a deep breath. Remind yourself why you're learning this. What's the goal? A better life, more connection. Hold on to that why. That's your first win of the day.
Then, okay, go to the mirror and just say 5 simple sentences about your day out loud. I'm going to make coffee. Today I will go for a walk. I need to buy milk.
Don't feel silly. It feels weird at first, but it's retraining your mouth and your brain. Then get your notebook, write down 5 new words, but don't just write the definition. Write a sentence using the word that's personal to you. If the word is opportunity, write, learning English is a big opportunity for me. Make it real.
Okay, then later in the day, maybe afternoon, find a short English video online, a vlog, a story, whatever. Watch it once with subtitles, get the gist. Then watch it again without subtitles. Just listen to the sounds, the flow.
Then close your eyes and try to summarize in your own simple words what you understood. Even if it's just, the woman was happy, she talked about her dog, I like dogs. You're practicing listening and then producing.
And then add that 10 minutes of just talking to yourself about anything, your day, your plans, what you had for lunch. Doesn't matter if it's perfect. You're just getting used to thinking and speaking in English. You become your own practice partner.
That self-reliance piece is huge. Then at night, connect it to your day. Sit down with your notebook again. Write 5, maybe 10 lines about your day in English. Don't stress about grammar. Today was hard. Work was busy. I felt tired, but I practiced. Or I talked to someone new today. It was scary, but okay. This is your proof of progress.
Read what you wrote out loud. Look back at your 5 words from the morning. Can you use one in your diary entry? And then right before you sleep, just whisper 3 positive things to yourself. In English, I am getting better. I am proud I tried today. Tomorrow I will practice again.
It sounds small, but those quiet affirmations in the language you're aiming for, they start to sink in. You're not just drilling vocabulary, you're rebuilding your belief in yourself brick by brick.
These steps, they're not just practice drills. They are little acts of courage, repeated daily. They build the habit, and the habit builds the fluency. And yeah, other people will notice your effort, but the most important thing, you will notice. You'll start to respect yourself for sticking with it.
And then one day you'll look back, just like Lucas did, and you'll realize, wow, I actually did it. So please don't give up. Remember Lucas feeling lost, ashamed, scared, but he just kept going. One step, then another.
Because you're not just learning a language here, you're building your life.
You know, Lucas's story is so powerful because learning English unlocked everything else for her career, confidence, relationships. It makes you think, what other languages might we be afraid to learn? What other fears are keeping us from gaining the lives we really want? What skill, what vulnerability do you need to face down next to finally speak your dreams into reality?